I need more leads. I need more this. I need more that.
Phone calls not being picked up, customers not being helped, appointments not being booked.
Right? And consistency can never be anything if it doesn't start at the beginning.
Customers said they would pay more money for a car if it was the experience that they wanted.
You're going to have to provide an experience because that is your only chance.
Dealers are always looking to elevate the customer experience.
Training in a dealership is probably bottom 3 priority.
The issue is we need to look at AI as an actual human employee. And AI scares me as well.
They want to feel like there's a connection regardless
Correct.
of what it is.
How do we leverage and build this product in a way that delivers a better customer experience? How can we streamline things, minimize data silos, but also increase opportunity for efficiencies, customer experiences?
Are you wasting your time and money on inefficiencies in the business? Are sales down and lead conversion rates are low? Are you having problems building or maintaining inventory levels? What does it really take to win in the automotive industry?
Get the cars that make sense for your store rather than just wishing at an auction, so it gives you that better control.
With over 25 years of experience, Darrell the Wolf Steed isn't just another industry voice. He's the guy who's out there solving real problems for dealers just like you.
They'll even say in the Pacific Northwest where you're at that it's a tougher market. It's it's tougher to find cars. The market's a little bit softer, and in the midst of all this, your turn doubled and your profits up 75%.
Yes.
The truth hurts only when it should. Are you ready to hear the truths? Darrell is here to unpack the hard truths and the proven strategies that will take your dealership from struggling to soaring. And he is taking it all in the streets, with real talk, open dialogue, unfiltered conversations. This is the podcast series, Street Smarts, powered by SmartWolf Consulting.
Welcome back, guys, to another edition of Street Smarts, powered by SmartWolf Consulting, where the truth hurts only when it should, and we talk about everything in the streets and how we can help dealers get better and just meeting interesting people. Today, we have the pleasure of bringing on a guest that I can personally tell you has done some magical work for stuff that I work on and really likes to get into it and get innovative and figuring out different solutions for dealers. So much so, he's playing with that weird AI thing. I can't figure it out for myself, but that's why we have guys like Brayden figuring out how to take AI, all 3 iterations, and I'm sure there'll be more coming, and figuring out how you can really empower dealers to use it the right way. So with no further ado, let's welcome Brayden to the show. Brayden, thank you so much for coming on, and please introduce yourself and tell us what's going on, what's new, where are you winning in life?
Thank you so much, Darrell. I appreciate that. Crazy intro, and I love the video that you have pre-rolling this. It just creates a cool experience for not only your listeners but me as well, so I appreciate that. We're in the advertising space for 10 years. Actually, out of high school, I started a company that started working with dealerships on the creative side. We worked with premium used independent dealers and Ford franchises and kind of grew from there. So with the rise of AI, we've seen this huge problem of dealers missing phone calls, opportunities, and banging their heads against the wall when leads aren't converting, and we're trying to fix that.
So I think that's interesting because for those listeners that are listening to this, and if you've listened to any of my other episodes, I may not be the biggest advocate for AI. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not because I don't like it. There are 3 different versions that we know of right now, and I'm sure there'll be more iterations coming. But you have the machine learning AI, which, so that we're clear, guys, that's been around for 30 years. That's not new. That's just the new to the automotive industry because we've never used it. Then we have the learning AI, and then we have the adaptive AI, which is the newest version. But that's going to take time because it is very robust. Now, when we think about that is like what Brayden brought to one of the dealers that I actually work with SmartWolf Consulting. It was a conversation, a problem, and the solution, right? So when I bring on people to talk about their products and talk about what they do, what I do is I bring on people who are real partners that aren't vendors. And Brayden falls into that category for me because I've seen it. He had a store that had a pretty big issue, and I'm going to have him talk about it. And he brought a solution which has made the store significantly better very quickly. And so it's understanding which AI version you need. What do you need for your store? And then having a partner, not a vendor who just says, hey, we turn something on and magically it's supposed to do what it does, but then guide you through making sure that you're getting the right setup, success and everything else. Now, Brayden, that's not all you do. Obviously, you're the co-founder of Dealer Surge AI, but you guys also do some marketing. You guys do some social stuff. I mean, you guys are kind of in like a lot of solutions. Tell us where you think dealers, one, are struggling the most in like across both the States and Canada, and then more importantly, why you believe what the Dealer Surge AI does is kind of something that is not only innovative, but is a need now in the dealership setting.
Yeah, I love this conversation. This is good. We're getting right to it. Thank you. So when we look at advertising, we had an agency for the last 10 years. It's still going. We work with some very large groups in Canada and in the US. And we always get asked for like, hey, we want to increase our lead count. We want higher conversion rates. We want better lead quality, and we want to spend more. So dealers keep funneling this ad spend and focus on advertising just to get this outcome that they want. But the phones are ringing off the hook and nobody's picking them up. If you look at any call tracking software in a dealership, you'll see that the average store misses 30% of their phone calls. And we've looked at dozens of large stores. They're missing up to 52% of their phone calls. Now
before you keep going, when you say they're missing them, what does that mean? Like for just the layman person of like missing them in the sense of they pick them up and then no one gets to them, they never get them. What does that actually mean?
I mean, not connected with a human. So whether this is after hours or the receptionist is away on a lunch break or the sales team is there with the customer, everybody in a dealership setting is dealing with somebody in person, and they're trying to balance all these internet leads coming in, right? Speed to lead, you hear that in sales all the time. So I think going back to what you were talking about with this Dodge dealership or this large store that we're working with, 5,500 calls in September is what they received across their whole store, okay? 3,300 phone calls got picked up. 2,200 phone calls were not connected with the human. 1,800 of those 2,200 were unique callers. 1,800 people who wanted to buy something or book an appointment that never got helped.
So when you say unique, because obviously I know that word unique from a website conversion, but is unique saying first time, like first interaction, or is that, what does unique mean in way of phone call pathways?
Yeah, so just unique is different people. So 1,800 different customers.
Okay, so individual numbers, not duplicate numbers coming into the switchboard.
Correct. So if you look at the difference, 1,800 versus 2,200, and this is how I'm understanding it, Darrell. The difference between that number is 400 people. So roughly 400 people tried to call back or were repeat callers. So if you're looking from an advertising side and a dealer says, hey guys, we want 1,800 leads this month, how much ad spend is this dealer going to have to fork out for low quality leads or leads that are going to convert months down the road at the bottom of the funnel? The issue is most dealers that we work with have a leaky bucket, and the holes in the bucket is phone calls not being picked up, customers not being helped, appointments not being booked when that opportunity is there. So although I'm biased and I would love to sell every dealership marketing, I promise you that I would love to be able to have our hands in they don't need it. I'm not saying marketing's not important, but there's other holes in the bucket that need to be addressed first.
No, that makes sense. And it's interesting you say that, like when I hear unique, now knowing that it's just 1,800 people that haven't hit your switchboard or they're not duplicates, there's these unique numbers. Like, I mean, when we're talking about, I need more leads, I need more this, I need more that, and we're not even handling the things we have, like that is me just like, that's crazy. And then when you said that number up to 50%, I mean, let's get real. I mean, I'm probably not the right guy to say something like that, because whatever store that was, how that general manager still has a job is beyond me. How that GSM still has a job or service director was like, how do you allow 50% of any traffic not to do that? But now, how is it that with your AI or what you guys have founded, what type of AI base are you guys using? And then what have you done with that to ensure that dealers not only get the calls, but then they are done in a way to where it creates a good experience, right? Because answering a call is one thing, but making sure the experience is positive is a whole different operation.
Yeah. So you said something when we started that was really key, is like, you're not in love with AI. And AI scares me as well, actually. It just, there are people that are going to use it for good, and we want to be those people. AI scares me. Plug and play AI scares me. So there's so many different vendors out there, not even just in the automotive space, but CRMs across every industry that are slapping the words AI after their name. And, you know, there may be some kind of like data AI organization tool on the back end, or a quote AI chatbot for your website. But the issue is, we need to look at AI as an actual human employee. Even though AI is not to replace humans, it's to be able to basically give them steroids and help them do their job better and more effectively. That's how I like to look at it. So we need to look at training AI as you're onboarding an actual human being. So when a human being gets signed on for a sales role, they go through the sales training, phone conversations, processes. Here's how we do this, how we do that. That's how AI should be right now. We have a foundational team of AI agents that we implement into stores, but they have to be trained specifically for that dealership's processes and systems. Without that, the AI doesn't know exactly what to do, and you're not going to get the best result.
Fair enough. Okay. So that's interesting. So based on what you guys are doing, and then the partnership that you do with the people that obviously branch out to you, then you can, in essence, take this AI or this product that you guys have developed, and you could customize this based on that training pathway for a store-specific consumer experience, right? Because you're going to teach them, or they need to teach it, however that correlation works, to where it doesn't have to be, as you said, like, and when I say I'm not a fan of AI, I'm talking about the machine learning one, the one where you set it and it just does it. I think this learning and adaptive one, these things are, yeah, I'd say scary because you just don't know what it is, but I love it because you can customize it to the experience you want, not the customer you think you or the customer experience that you think you have. You can actually say, no, we really want to do this. We really want to do that. And then all you have to do is feed it the things it needs to get it to where it needs to be. So I think some of these new iterations coming up have some pretty interesting dynamics of what can be done. Now, let's ask the $1 million question. We've all been on a call to, let's say, a bank, and we've got one of these magical AI, whatever the hell they put in there, from God knows what country, and you ask it 10 questions, and in most cases, your phone goes flying across the room because you've just given up and you hate these things. What is the realistic, like when I'm asking and looking at this, am I talking to someone that actually sounds like a real person? Is this one of these like, kind of maybe? Is this, as I ask them a question, it feels like I have to ask it 10 times? Like, what does this actually come out to?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the hardest part when we look at AI systems, right? Is like, how do you humanize it? And you could also look at, a lot of customers don't care if it's a human or not, if it provides a good experience. If the phone gets picked up, if the customer never gets put on hold, if the customer doesn't need to transfer to service to book an oil change, if the AI receptionist can handle every task in the business, it's going to provide a better experience in the long run. Now, the way we have ours built right now, our latency is just under 900 seconds. Our new version is sub 500 seconds. The industry average is 1.5 second response time, which is way too unrealistic. The way AI works now with voice tools is you can clone your actual receptionist voice, and we're playing around with it in the background, and we can hardly tell the difference, even as people who built this. So when we look at our call tracking software that we've built with the platform and the call transcriptions, and we're listening to these calls, about 90% of people have no idea it's AI. There's a few people that understand it is, but they still have the conversation and they get help faster than they would with an actual human receptionist.
No, it's funny you say that, because that's the one thing, right? Like, you ask a question and like within half a second, it's spitting this out. And I'm like, there's nobody in the world that knows this stuff that quickly. Like, and that is just so polished that you're like, wow, like, how are you not giving speaking events? Because you're so polished and so quick. So the fact that you're even able to dial that in right? Where it's have the pause, have the delay, have the where it feels truly natural. I think that is, I mean, I kind of like, that's where I get excited about that learning and adaptive type ones is now it like you said, you don't need the human experience. Like you don't need it to be that. You can know it's AI, but people don't, they want to feel like there's a connection regardless of what it is, where they feel heard. And so the fact that you're putting in some of those subconscious psychological pathways in there, I think that allows for less of that disconnection and more of that, hey, they're serving up something that's, you know, connected or that's in a positive experience. Now, you know, moving on, like as most people know that have watched this podcast and do this podcast is, you know, I live in used cars. New cars they're great. New cars are great for one thing. Once you sell them, they become used. I think that's a fantastic thing for new cars. But when it comes to used cars, where is like, so I've heard a lot of things with AI. AI is kind of like you said, it is the new buzzword. It's like buying centers, AI, and EV. Yep. Like if I say one of these things, I magically get like clickbait on everything. But when it's AI, where does AI serve in way of a used car operation from like your perspective? Is AI something that's replacing it? Is AI an assistant? Like where does AI improve the used operations for them?
So like I said, we're looking at AI as actual employees, and that's how we're training them. And that's the job that we give the AI, right? It's like, hey, you are a receptionist at 123 Automotive. Your goal is to prioritize good customer experience and book an appointment. And then that's where the customizable features come in of like, okay, if they don't book an appointment, what's the next part of the process that this dealership would train their actual receptionist? So in that end, we're looking up from this macro view or high level view of we have AI employees trained for roles. So we have an AI receptionist, an AI BDC that can do inbound and outbound and book into the calendar for appointments. And then we have a service advisor. So that roster can, whether you're a franchise or an independent dealership, those are all valuable. But as time goes on, that team will just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
No, I think that's great because I think a lot of people, right? Like I want to really take the fears out of like AI in the sense of understanding what it is, right? Like it's not going away. It may not take over the world by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think we're quite anywhere near the, what is it with Terminator? What's the thing? Skynet. I don't think we're anywhere close to Skynet, right? But is, like you said, it's another path or another employee. It's another way to get consistency, right? Because now you're getting a consistent thing each time rather than, I mean, let's get real, guys. We got to be honest with ourselves. Training in a dealership is probably bottom 3 priorities. And then who you do have, like eliciting the training, has never been trained by anybody professionally. So like they're getting training like from kind of maybe sort of someone. So having something like this is it should be at the forefront of a conversation in the sense of this is we won't say perfect, but a ideal way of delivering consistency from your first point of contact, right? And consistency can never be anything if it doesn't start at the beginning. So like you said, your receptionist, a service advisor or scheduler, right? Inbound, outbound. When you get that consistency, now you can use your in-person people or your like to fill in the holes, for the in-person experience, the video, or whatever it is. And like you said, and it's just going to grow because I know there's pieces of where a video can be created now and a conversation. So I know it's adapting, right? It's getting more and more and more.
I would love to add to that, Darrell. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think this is a really important conversation. One of the things that we found is, dealers are always looking to elevate the customer experience. I saw a LinkedIn poll the other day. GMs, what's at the forefront of your to-do list on improving in 2025? It was like marketing and advertising, customer experience, and then there was some other choice. By far, it was the customer experience. So when we're talking AI, it's like, how do we leverage and build this product in a way that delivers a better customer experience, not just on the phone, not just online, but in the store as well? If you go into a dealership and you go to the service counter, the chances that service advisor, guys at the service desk are on the phone probably an 80% chance. And you're standing there waiting for them to either put that customer on hold, which is now frustrated that they have to wait, or answering another phone call before helping the customer in front of them. Same thing with the receptionist. If a receptionist doesn't have to spend one of our stores 62 and a half hours every single month picking up and answering the phone, that's 60 hours of her time back that she can give to create a better customer experience to in-store customers.
Wow. When you actually, man, that's kind of the mic drop, guys. If you didn't get it, let's repeat it, right? He just said 62 hours a month from doing this, right? Like that's a lot of this. If you freed that up, now let's not get crazy, guys. That doesn't mean we fire the receptionist. Okay, that's not
correct.
What this means. It means now you retask that person to do admin work. Maybe they're the person that helps with service just to corral, like, the cats when they come. Like, you can now increase your productivity and customer experience just by retasking the things that have the ability to be done by a program such as this or a service such as this. And now you get the best of both worlds. There's a slight expense to it, but now you can actually look at the productivity that it brings you, right? I freed up 62 hours. How much would you guys pay, right? I mean, that's the $1 million question. How much would you pay to have 62 extra hours that aren't dedicated to answering phones that could go to anything else? Like, I mean, in essence, right? And I think quite a few stores would probably say as pretty significant number, because we all know when it comes to finding good people and productive people, we've got to be very surgical about that. So that's really awesome. Yeah. Now, you talk to a lot of stores. You work with a lot of groups. You've been to I can't remember the convention you just went to, but it was the
ACE conference in Niagara.
Yeah, that one where all the computer and engineers and all the real smart people. They don't invite me to those things. Okay, knuckle drag.
It's an open invitation, Darrell.
So when you're there and you're doing all these things, where do you see the state of 2025? What's the big challenge? Where do you see people like? I don't want to say we're in panic mode, but I've heard a lot of panic. I've heard a lot of stress. I've heard a lot of I don't know even where to start. Where do you see it based on the conversations you're having of where people are having to realign their whole idea of what the automotive business is moving into?
Well, look, there's like you said, there's so many different levels of AI, different types of AI. Most dealers are going to adopt it in 2025. The future of AI it means the fastest growing industry. There's going to be billions of AI agents, these AI employees automating tasks in the dealership. And when you look at dealerships and you look at their budgets, right? We have some pretty big groups and we get to look at their budgets and advertising and software and all these systems. It's how can we streamline things? Minimize data silos, but also increase opportunity for efficiencies, customer experiences. I mean, one of the GMs that we talked to the other day is like, you get analysis by paralysis in a store because there's HR, there's the used cars, there's new, your OEM's yelling at you because you didn't meet. There's so much going on. And if we can just simplify things and streamline things and provide a better customer experience and a better employee experience, I think that's really the value in AI right now in 2025.
Nope. I listen, I am all for, as I, build buying centers or I'm training stores, things of that nature, that's where it starts. Everyone says, well, Darrell, are we going to make more money? I mean, that's where we're going to go eventually. Like, we have to get there, but it all starts with, we've got to train the people, right? You have to have the right systems. Like you said, we got to simplify it, but it's all really geared towards the consumer experience. Because at the end of the day, if no one wants to deal with you, or you're not easy to deal with, or you don't give some type of experience that is better and not even average, it has to be better than average or excelling in the market, then your business is going to struggle. Like, you're probably going to be selling your store sooner rather than later, because we're back to that old school, that harder business of you need to move more metal, you need to move faster, and you're going to make it in volume. But more importantly, you're going to have to provide an experience, because that is your only chance to, let's say, essentially make more money, like to charge a little bit more, is that your experience. Like, you're going to have to create the Nordstrom experience or the Dillard's, or, it's got to be that really top echelon. It's not one of these where like, well, we're kind of here, no, you're going to need to be this, or you're automatically this, because the gap is too big. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting 2025 because used car compression, they've already estimated, is going to be worse this year than it was last year, which I don't even know where we go then because it was pretty difficult last year. New cars outside of Toyota, I don't know any new cars that actually grew. I mean, Toyota, you just kind of flip a switch and it just magically sells itself. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on in that. Now, outside of like the automotive industry and everything else, like what else what else do you do? Because I know you do some stuff other than AI. So I shouldn't say automotive industry, but what else do you do that, one, you're passionate about, but two, like is just some of those things that you're able to be versed in to where it helps with the conversation of being a true partner?
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, are we talking personal stuff here? Like not even business?
Like just, I mean, listen, you're like, I've gotten to talk to you in the past and like, you do a lot of cool things. You have a lot of hobbies, but like you're really passionate about what you do, right? When you set up social stuff, when you set up remarketing stuff, you've co-founded this, and I know you were working really hard to get this going. And so like, let's obviously give you your flowers there, right? But like, why you? Like, why are you the ideal partner? Like, what else do you do, right? Because you're just a guy, right? You're not some sales guy. You're not the guy like, hey, do this. Like, you actually do other things that make you a really interesting person. So I want people to kind of know the like guy that I know. Like, what do you do that makes people want to like work with you?
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Interesting. I think one of the things that I love the most is challenges. And whether that's running super long races, biking, physical feats, I also like solving problems. And I think that's where tech and the auto industry really excite me. I mean, Darrell, I don't know if you know this about me. My goal in life is to own an auto group. But this is a very, very different pathway of getting myself into stores and purchasing them eventually. But I want to understand what will make the largest return for a dealer, like flipping a light switch. Like, how can we improve processes and systems and profitability and the customer experience as fast as possible? And so if you look at my personal life, I mean, conversations of this kind of caliber that we're having today, this excites me. The relationships, the people, the struggle, the challenges, the problems, that gets me amped up.
No, and I think that's great, right? Like you like to do those challenging things. Same here, right? Like I love to kayak, I love to hike, and
awesome.
I give people a lot of crap because they'll be like, "Oh, I went hiking." I'm like, "Oh, you did?" And they're like, "Yeah, I went for this." I'm like, "Well, it's not a hike if you're not gaining at least 800 feet in elevation and at least 5 miles long." And they're like, "Oh, then I guess I went on a walk," right? And so because again, like if you're hiking, you need that endurance. It's like, and then I love kayaking. When there's good weather where I live, it stays on my truck. I have two from mine and my wife's. And so I can drop that in the water at any time because it's just like, man, it's just a way to escape, right? It's a way to be physical. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you have a very ambitious goal of owning a dealer group, I think that's fantastic. I mean, I'd work for you.
With me, not for me.
But like when you say it's an interesting pathway, let's spend a few minutes there because it is, right? Yeah. You're learning. Like, when I first came in the business, there was internet, guys. I'm not as old as I look. There was internet, okay? It wasn't as adaptive or as big as it is now. There was color TVs, too, for all of you guys who are going to make jokes about whether there was color TVs. But when you think about that, is you're learning all these very innovative tech things and the social platforms and all that. So it is an interesting path that, like, okay, you want to influence that sphere of being an owner and then developing something. But you're learning all the connective tissues, right, in today's society. So the social sphere, the AI, the relationships. And we may say that that's a unique or that like that's not the ideal way. I think that's actually the ideal way, is because you're learning all the ways that are going to be, whether it takes you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? Because I mean, you said group, you didn't say a store, you said group. So that's a big goal. Is when you get to that point, you're going to know, like, here's like where we saw it go. And then the adaptive nature of it, and you get there, is that you're perfectly primed to be that person that like hey guys, I'm willing to get in the trenches with you. And I was there at the start of it. Like when the internet first came out, I heard internet was the devil from a GM because like they were the old school dealer. And it was at an NADA way back in like 2010 or 9 or something like that. 2002. And what I thought was interesting was when I think it was like 2 years of the internet being out, they had sold more cars in those 2 years than they had in the previous 10 without it. Like, I mean, it was this insane number. And it was like, no, it's because you didn't want to jump in. You didn't want to adapt to it. And so I think the fact that like you've co-founded something and you're driving that and growing that and then understanding, right? Because what I appreciate about every time that we have conversations is you're not saying like, hey, Darrell, this definitely works with this. No, you're trying to identify where it's not working so that you can work through that, right? And I think that's the real key to partnership and the real key to understanding the business. Like I don't tell people in used cars like, well, if you're not doing this, it doesn't work. I customize everything I do because what result do you want? Now, with that being said, guys, if your way doesn't work or we build it the way you want it and it doesn't work, I certainly anticipate that you're going to be open to constructive criticism or a different idea so that we don't continue doing the same thing, getting the results we don't want. Mm-hmm. But I think that's getting people to really own and address the, hey guys, it's okay. Like this is new technology or this is something different or you may be unknown to it, and allowing people to feel comfortable as you walk them through it. That's a talent, right? Because especially when you deal with tech, there's a lot of old dogs that like turning their computer on's a challenge. Yep. And so when you tell them that we're going to do this or that, you're like, oh no. And so understanding that to have that conversation, I think I think that's how you're going to see the people that come up and end up being owners and operators. They're going to have a very deep understanding of not only the operation side of it, but the communication side, right? Because that's how we communicate. I mean, outside of the fact that, one of these social platforms, has very few days to live. And then we'll see how that goes. But it is how that's where all the communication's at.
You just said something really important. I have a quote here in front of me. I brainstorm everything on paper or a tablet of some sort. But there's this quote, Seth Godin, "This is Marketing," from his book. "It's easier to make products and services for customers you intend to serve than it is to find customers for your product and services." So if we take a look at marketing and advertising, yes, everybody needs it, but not everybody needs that exact specific thing that we're offering. Whereas now with AI, and this isn't a sales pitch for Dealer Search AI, this is a sales pitch for technology and the future of AI. You can tailor these systems and processes to the actual customer and their needs and their pain points. So I think that's important, especially for what you do as well, right?
Yeah, and so it's funny that you said that, right? Because I was just having this debate about that, right? Like, and this has boggled my mind for years. But there's some hills that I'm just not going to die on because I'm either not a good enough salesperson or they're just too damn stubborn to see a different way. And it was about marketing about that. And so you see a couple of these big companies, and for instance, let's say like Carvana or CarMax or EchoPark. Do you ever see any of these guys advertising solo vehicles or a manufacturer or their store or their name? No, it's their brand. Right, it's their brand, right? So that they're tailoring it, like you said, to what the customers are looking for. We serve a need, like this is what we serve, rather than like you see some of these franchise dealerships, which has always bogged my mind of like, oh, we're gonna do like, Los Angeles Land Rover, right? Like we're branding our very specific term. Like, why not just your group name, or why not that? Just the store, and why are you doing all these specials on individual cars? Like that you have a service, that you cure a problem, rather than you're trying to be all this micro defined and you're just throwing it against the wall. And so the debate came in is with AI. Now, if you wanted to be surgical, now you have a tool that you can be, because you can serve up based on what people are either searching or doing or whatever. So you can have it. But again, you have to have a product that serves the people, not attempting to throw something out there that you think will drive you traffic, right? It's like we do it opposite in the automotive business for quite some time. And so I think that's where I really get intrigued of understanding where the business is going, and that now we're starting to get more and more tools or abilities to, like you said, create that type of conversation to where we're here to give you what we do, right? Like, or here's the services we provide, and then it becomes customer service. And that's why I like saying Nordstrom's a lot, because Nordstrom's, you don't see them sit there and like talk about all the clothing lines they have in there. Like, and they carry a vast majority of clothing line. What you do is all you hear about is Nordstrom's is this service. Like, when you walk in there, you're the 800 credit score, you're the millionaire. Like, I mean, they're like hooking your arm going, okay, folks, let's go over here. And it's just this really elaborate experience. And why? When you hear about them, it's the experience. So everyone's like, man, that's how I want to be treated. And yeah, yes, you're going to pay more for it. I bought a tie there. I could have bought the same tie for $40 less at the store down the road. But you know what, man? I felt like $1 million when I was getting that tie. So
that's important. Sorry to interrupt you, Darrell. I seen a LinkedIn post yesterday about like 54 or 52% of customers said they would pay more money for a car if it was the experience that they wanted. So
sure.
I mean, like there's different levels to advertising and brand. You got your tier 1, 2, 3. At each level, there's a different goal and importance of communicating a certain message, right? Your tier 1 is, you got your OEMs of like, hey, this is why our vehicles are so great.
Yeah.
Tier 2, tier 3, whatever. But at the dealership level, it's not just about the vehicle. Again, like you said, it's about the experience. That's what the customer's after. If there's 2 Toyota dealerships 25 minutes away, 30 minutes away from each other, they both have the same product. It's just, what experience are you going to get?
Well, and it's funny you say that. So like, and guys, so you understand tier 1, tier 2, 3, for those of you guys that don't deal with advertising, right? Tier 1, you don't even see. That's done by manufacturers. You're paying for it, but you're not paying for it. Tier 2, there's different things. That's your HDA or whatever it may be. But when we get to tier 3, that's like your local, that's your listing. But I think people miss is tier 3 is your listings, right? Because you got to let people know the cars you have. That's a piece. But it's like, how many people aren't doing things? And I see it at Subaru stores more than anybody else that do it right or do more pieces of this. Is that they're like, you'll see them with like animals, because they're the big animal brand. They're the big dog brand. And they'll do commercials with that. And then they're doing it in their local, like they have local people in it. Like they want local people to come in and tell their stories, right? Because it's, again, tier 3 is how you're advertising what you do, what makes you different, your why sell, your why buy. And I think people miss that because they're constantly trying to sell a car rather than provide an experience, right? So I'm excited to see how AI is going to help with that, because let's get real. We've been doing the same thing over and over and over for God knows how long. And so those of you guys who didn't know the definition of insanity, it's doing the same exact thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So by definition, 90% of the dealership's employees are batshit crazy. Okay, because we've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and going like this. I don't know why we're in the same spot. Right. So now maybe AI gives that ability to release a little bit of control. Right. So that you're like, hey, I get it. You got to trust something that maybe you don't like. But why would you not? Because of how it generates, how it thinks, how it learns. And then it can put in more. Let's get real. It can put in way more data into the system and process that faster than we can, or faster than we can put it into play, so to say.
Yes.
Now, with dealer search and everything else, what's coming up for you guys for 2025? Is there new innovations? Is there new things? Like what's the big project? What's the, like, we'll call it the big trophy that you guys are looking to do, that's the big success for dealer search coming up for this year?
Yep. So yeah, it's the AI side of things. The advertising is going to continue to operate and grow, and we're still going to focus on that. My great co-founder, Seth, is handling all the operations on that side. But we're trying to get as many groups and rooftops as we can with the AI and empower dealers to take control and sell more vehicles more efficiently. So In Q1, 2, and 3, we've got a roadmap of the new employees we're going to be adding, whether that's F&I departments, creating more efficient desking opportunities through the power of voice AI. I don't want to spill too many beans, but all that stuff's out there, and we're working on it currently. And then our new platform, our V2, is coming with more integrations, more powerful customization abilities. Yeah, that's what we're working on.
No, I think that's exciting. I mean, what you just said, I love the teaser. I love the hook. That will be one of the shorts we create for this, because we'll just make people sit on the edge of their seats. So that is that F&I and desking, voice integration type of help. That right there has me jacked ready to see it, only in the sense of when you have all that and you can put it together, now you've taken the big excuse away. And the big excuse, guys, if you didn't know, is, oh, I was so busy I couldn't go talk to the customer. Well, if there was a tool out there that could somehow make you less busy so you could actually talk to more customers and have a better experience, boy, wouldn't that change the accountability of the sales management? So I think that's going to be really interesting on, what's coming up and how things are going. Now, I know that you're big on learning and reading and doing all those type of things. What's something for the younger audience, the ones that they come into this industry and everything else, what's something that they could read or that they should go do that kind of gives them a good edge on just starting their path and where they need to start? Because I read a book every other week. Well, I try to do one a week. Some of them are big. So I'm usually at 2 to 3 books a month. And I know that you'd sent me one. I picked it up immediately and read it. That was actually really good. It was the Give Back Your Time or Buy Back Your Time.
Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell. Yeah, that was going to be the one on my list. It's right here.
So, but I know that because you're of the younger generation, and you but you take it really seriously. You want to learn, you want to develop, and so I think it'd be great to have you tell people where do you start, how do you get better, where do you focus, where can you learn things and take control yourself? Because part of street smarts, guys, is taking what's on the streets and taking back control, right? Bringing profits in, bringing industry in, bringing learning in, is not waiting for people to do it for you, but taking control from the streets for yourself. So it'd be great, Brayden, if you could give any insight of where could they start, what should they do, how could they do this so that they can't use that excuse of no one ever showed me, no one ever told me, but they could actually get better at what they do.
I'm excited for this. This is awesome. And I love the name because I have very little education, actually. Did high school, hated the thought of going to university and college. Some people will laugh at me for that, but I love street smarts. So that's a little shout out to that. What I guess in the last 11 years that I've learned about entrepreneurship and self-development is that confidence only comes from the promises that you keep to yourself. You can tell people you're going to the gym. You can tell people you're weighing your food out and eating correctly. You can tell them that you're not looking at your phone past 8 o'clock. You can tell them you're spending time with your family. You can say all these things. That feels good, that gets your dopamine up. But if you don't keep those promises to yourself, your self-confidence just shoots down. And if you don't have self-confidence, you can't make good decisions. One of the biggest things is just ask. I read yesterday in High Performance Habits. It's another book, Creating Solid Habits. That's one of my biggest recommendations for people to listen to. People think they have to have it all figured out. And newsflash, nobody has it figured out. It's everybody's taking it day by day and trying to improve, right? So habits, keeping promises to yourself. And then when you start making money through your own venture or finding a mentor, that was one of my biggest things. Scott Davidson on our show, first episode, I walked into his dealership when I was 16, looking to buy my first vehicle. And I ended up actually selling them video services, and he mentors me to this day. We're talking 10, 11 years of mentorship. So, I'm rambling. There's so much to do here.
No, I think that's great is that you're giving some insight, right? And, I did a video at this point, it was probably a couple months ago, but it was all you have is your name. We know depending where you are in the world, right? But if you're in the States, right, you have death and taxes. These are two for sure, right? And if you're in California, it's death, taxes, some more taxes, and then death, right? So, but I said the third thing that everyone needs to understand is you have your name. Like when you make a commitment, you have your name. Like, and once you tarnish that name, I'm not saying you can't get it back, but good luck. Now, what I didn't put in that video, which I'm glad you just said, because it kind of brings that video full circle, is when I make a promise to someone, I don't make a lot of promises, because if I promise you, I don't care what's happening, time with family, everything else, I'm going to fulfill that. So when I make a promise, that's like I'm in. So I'm very careful about saying the words I promise, because I want to make sure I have that reputation.
Yeah.
But what you just said is even more impactful, is that making that commitment to what you sell to yourself, right? Because you could be the greatest guy to other people of fulfilling what you say to people. But inevitably, it doesn't really much matter if you don't do what you do for you. For instance, and you met me at the start of the journey, like I was already into it, but I was just shy of 300 pounds. So I look like I ate me, or at least two of Brayden's for sure. And, now I'm 212, but I got down to 203, looked like I was dying because I was just running and rowing. And so now I work out 5 days a week. I do cardio 2 days a week of those 5. And, 212, 16% body fat, all my indicators, because I get panels now. And I did it because I wanted to be healthy and vibrant for my kids and everything else. But I could have said all those things, like you said, I'm eating good and I'm eating this. No, when I was 203, I ate good. Like I ate almost nothing. It was all protein, very low calories, like super keto. And I got all the weight off. The downside was it wasn't sustainable. So now if I want to have a drink, I have a drink. If I want to eat something, I do. But now I'm very, very specific about when I do it. But if you don't commit to yourself, those are some of the loneliest people, but you would never know because they're so destroyed. They don't have that confidence because they look like it. They have all this I do this, but then it's you don't do it for yourself, right? So it is one of those things of, make that commitment to yourself, drive hard. I just wrote an article that was my word of the year. So everyone picks a word or a phrase.
Cool.
And I was on this call, and I speak about this a lot because I was dying. Have you ever seen those posters from the 90s and it said leadership, and it had a phrase, and it was a soaring eagle, and then it was all these things. It was this is the call I was on. Everyone's driven, energetic, accountable, and I'm I was oh boy, it was the word of day dictionaries, right? And then the responses were, that's a great word, I love that for you, that's awesome. And I'm wow, I walked into a rainbow pumping session. Right. And so I was man, I'm going to feel really silly because they called on me. And I'm my word is failure. So I made these really unrealistic. So my 2 words were unrealistic and unshakable. But it really came back to the failure word of I made these goals that are, in all fairness, are not obtainable. There's not enough hours in a day or a week for me to hit some of these goals. But it was the real challenge of keeping my word to myself, of working hard, working diligently, doing these processes, these checklists every day of, do you really know what you're capable of if you make a goal you can hit? And I see people all the time make goals and then they hit them, and it's because they want to feel self-accomplished and they want to feel good about themselves. But did you actually work as hard as you could have to exceed goal? Did you hit those goals before the timeline was over? So that means that you kind of coasted. You could have done more. And so I made these goals to where in order for me to hit 3 of these goals, I would have to work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. I would have to have the most impeccable timing ever, which is not my strong suit. And I would have to have a whole shit ton of luck dropped into my lap. But I'm going to do these things that I need to do. And when I fail, now I can have a real conversation of, was the goal too big or was my effort not enough? But it's keeping that commitment to myself of saying Darrell, we're going to do this. To hell with anything else, and we're going to do it. And then we can assess if the goal was too big, fine. Now we know exactly what we're capable of. When we put in all the effort, the ultimate effort, we don't let 1 minute of any day go by. But I think a lot of people don't do that. And when you don't keep that word to yourself, guys, what are we doing? I'd rather lie to other people than lie to myself. Because at the end of the day, you got to be happy with you, right? And I think a lot of people realize that. So it's great that you're already so inner focused there. You understand that and understand how that works. because for most young people, I think that's kind of the great insight for them is like you said, 15, 16, you go get a mentor, 10, 15 years later, and you're like, I understand this is the big thing. Well, most people don't learn that till they're 35, 40. Some people never learn that, to be true to yourself. And then, if it's something I don't want to say you can't do, because I think you can do a lot of things if you put your mind to it. But if it's something you're just like, I'm not driven. Someone had asked me, like, hey, Darrell, you going to run a marathon? Why on God's earth do I want to go run for 5 or 6 hours? I've done a half. That felt like enough. 2 hours and 25 minutes felt like more than enough running. So, and they're like, well, but I think you could do it. I agree with you. I just don't have any, it's not for me.
Not for me either, but you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. Listen, the people that want to do it, I give you kudos. You are beasts. It's just not on my priority bucket. It's not a thing. So, but I think it's one of those things where you go, whatever you want to do, commit to it and then do it. Don't find reasons you can't do it, right? Yeah. Find all the reasons why you can, right? And so I love that you said that about hey, make sure that you're focused on committing to what you say you're going to do for yourself, right? Whether it's read a book, watch webinars. I mean, for 2023 and 2024, I did a webinar every morning, whether it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it was something that I would learn. And these aren't things automotive industry. I can't tell you right now, I would never do it without the video, but I watched so many how-to videos on how to fix stuff around my house. So now my wife asked me to do more things, and I'm like, no. I just wanted to learn how. It doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. I just wanted to learn how to do it. But it was because I was just interested in how people taught stuff, how they walked them through it, right? So I was educating myself based on seeing how other people instructed people to do things, right? So I think that's kind of the unique thing that we see in this industry. It brings all lights. I just had a guest on who started in the auto industry, and they are a fantastic up and coming country singer. And it's just the people we get to meet in the auto industry and the lives they come, like you said, learning things in the streets. Street smarts comes from a lot of different things, right? Yep. It is taking stuff from the streets and bringing it back into you, taking control that way. But it's also I'm educated in the sense of, yes, I have education, have a degree, but mostly because I had a photographic memory. But it's how many things can you learn out of the automotive industry and really adapt those to your life? Because the automotive industry, yes, for the most part, does teach you, if you work hard, you're going to be successful. And that's kind of what I learned is hey, I worked really hard. I did, and I've been successful. So it was if you put in the drive, you put in the effort, you got a shot. One of my guests said it's what did she say? It's like the misfits from the Rudolph movie or the reindeer movie or something like that. And she's it's like a hodgepodge of all these different things. But it's a lot of unique characters, right? So it's what do you do and where are you going with your career?
Darrell, this is really important. This is the last thing I'll say about this. It's amazing what getting in the right room can do for somebody. And a few years ago, I decided to take a trip to visit a friend of mine on the West Coast in Canada. And 2 days of visiting there, I'm like, screw it. I'm going to pack my bags and move here. So a month later, I moved across the country, which got me in a room with a GM that I've never met before, which you and I both know. When he moved down to the US to take over stores, I ended up in the room with several GMs and sitting in the meetings and living with the one GM for a week and his family and just understanding the whole business. When you're in the room with the right people that are way, way smarter than you, it's the most amazing experience in the world. And a lot of people won't allow themselves to be put in those situations because they're nervous about ego, nervous about looking silly, asking the wrong questions. And I implore people who are struggling with that to just go do it, because that's how you grow. That's where the growth is made. So
sure. I think it's one of those things when you think about that is because you took a leap, right? That's what it is. You took a leap, you went up there, and that was the start of everything, right? That was the start of you getting to where you wanted to go, getting this. And when you think about that is one of those little things to where you were uncomfortable in the sense of this was not where you're like, man, I feel good about this situation. No, this is like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not 100% sure. Like, but this one risk you take now catapults you to all these other things and puts you in a position to where your future becomes bright, right? So I think that's interesting. To one, to acknowledge that, but two, to understand is that really comes back to that same thing as we wrap things up is, allowing yourself to be uncomfortable or being comfortable in the uncomfortable. It doesn't have to happen all the time, but once you get to that point, it allows you to open doors that you probably didn't think you had access to, that have been there the whole time. You just didn't believe that you had access to them. So I try to do everything I can to, like, those situations are the ones that you just like, I don't know. I dive right into those because the worst that's going to happen is I'm like, in my mind, I'm already on a no. So the worst that's going to happen is we're going to be on a no.
Yep.
And the best that can happen is I get to a maybe or a yes. Well, I'll take the chances because I'm already stuck in a spot where I'm like, I shouldn't be here. Or I don't know if I should be here, or I don't belong. Well, if they say, come on in, I'm like, okay, well, hey, I guess I do belong. Like, and then you kind of surprise yourself, right? And as we wrap things up, I'd also tell people, when you guys put yourself and get yourself being comfortable being in the uncomfortable, the one thing that you really need to focus on, whether it is like, and I want to wrap it up because of what AI is. This is something that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people because of understanding, because of education, because of how things work, is when you get to that point of being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Okay. Also, don't be surprised when people say that they want, they say yes, or they want to be part of it, or they want you part of it. And when it comes to AI, guys, I can't vouch for AI in the sense of like knowing everything about it. I know very little. I read as much as I can that comes out that makes sense, but I can vouch for Brayden, and I can say this guy, every time I call, I text, it's like done so quickly. I don't even understand. Like, he's not your everyday person. When you give him a project, I have to like chase him down for weeks. It gets done. We get results. And the fact that he's anywhere part of this, and I know obviously quite a few of the stores that this is in, and I saw firsthand in one of the stores the lift it gave, because we saw what wasn't happening, and then we saw how service picked up after the calls were actually being answered, how quickly that changed things. Is that I think you guys need to really think about, what does 2025 look like? But more importantly, what are you doing to ensure that you have every opportunity possible to grow your business? And the ones you're losing, or if you don't know that you're losing them, is look at something like Dealer Surge to start the conversation. This isn't going to cure the problem. What it's going to do, though, is it's going to immediately then make sure all your opportunities are at least being spoken to. And now we can have a real conversation of what you're missing, right? You can't have a conversation about what you're missing when you're missing it, right? You have to make sure it's being answered. Then we can say, okay, could we get it? Could we not get it? Does it work? Like, let's make sure we have the right data with these AI technologies so that we can have the right conversations to improve. With that being said, Brayden, any final thoughts, anything before we wrap things up? Because it has been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to see the next iterations of this, because in all fairness, you have everything that I've seen you do has been great, and I've seen how to improve stores. And I couldn't think of anyone else that does AI other than you, to have someone kind of come on, explain it, and see the passion of it, because I've actually seen it firsthand. So final thoughts, burning desires, what would you like to end with?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Darrell. This is fantastic. Excited to connect with you again. This is a great way to end a Thursday afternoon, or to start a Thursday afternoon, rather. Again, I don't want this to be a sales pitch for our company. I want this to be a sales pitch for AI technology and just being better, stronger, faster humans all around. So whether that's in the business, on the dealership sales floor, or in your own personal life, all about growth. And that's what it's all about, baby. Let's go.
All right, guys, as we always say, it's street smarts. You guys, the truth hurts only when it should, right? And, at the end of every one of these things, we want to make sure you guys learned at least one thing. If you got 1% better today, you learned something from this, that's what we're bringing to you. Education, learning and meeting new people, and the ability to take control from the streets, whether it's education, business, or otherwise, and bring it back into your control. We thank you guys again. Stay tuned for next week for another interesting guest. And Brayden, hang out for me for just a second.